Hello, let's react to a video that I found out about somebody commenting about cashiers getting paid 15 an hour. I found it quite interesting because I work as a cashier right now. One of my jobs pay me more than $15 an hour, but the other job that I work doesn't even pay me $15 an hour. However, that's going to change coming in January because in January here in New York State, the minimum wage is increasing to $15 an hour, at least in the part of New York City that I live. In New York City, it's going to be $16 an hour. Um, and honestly, I think New York State just should have put out $16 an hour because even $15 an hour is not enough to live comfortable, especially if you are living alone or if you want trying to get an apartment on your own. You can't, honestly. And keep in mind that some of the jobs as a cashier, they are not full-time jobs, they are part-time. Very few workplaces will hire a cashier full-time. Even Home Depot, which is a company that I'm working on right now, and I get paid 17 an hour to work as a cashier there. My job is a bit less, um, but they don't hire full time. They only hire part time. And to live in this state as a grown adult, because I'm past my 40s, you need to have a certain level of income. This is not a job that is only for people that are in high school or kids out of college or things like that. A lot of politicians think that is the case, and that is not the case. In any case, let's listen to this, and I will stop when I want to
Think about it,
react.
because I'm literally sitting here having kind of like this existential moment, and I'm seeing cars pull up, and some cars are nicer than others. Some cars are pulling up, and you think, man, like I wonder what that person does to be able to afford that type of car, you know. And then I see that sign now hiring cashiers $15 an hour. If you think about what that cashier is going to do in the time frame of an hour, they're going to obviously ring people up. They're going to have to restock. They're going to have to clean. They're going to have to go clean the bathroom. They're going to get shipments that come in of more product in which they're going to have to go and take and lift everything.
And it all depends on where you work. He's talking about cashiers that work in a gas station. I'm pretty sure that it's probably a lot of work. It's quite interesting because at Home Depot, the head cashier takes care of closing the register and all that kind of stuff at the end of the night. Um, I don't have to restock products. I do have to front face things, and I have to clean a little bit the area that I'm in. Um, but it's not as intensive as my other job at the airport. And that's where I realized that hard work doesn't equal the your level of income, because at my other job at the airport, I have to help put in restocking items, putting water in the coolers, when I'm not busy folding some of the clothes in the gift shop. There's more work that I do, and I get paid totally completely less than what I get paid at Home Depot. And it's what he's saying is true. It's not only about register, working the register. You sometimes also need to um, put items on shelves, things like that. There's a lot of work probably for a person that works in a gas station as a cashier than it is in a person that works in a bigger um, box and retailer like Home Depot or Walmart. So, but still, 15 an hour is not a lot of money in all honesty. After, especially, you have to factor $15 an hour is a gross income, is a gross wage that you get. Keep in mind that you have to subtract taxes. If you're working full time, you may have to get benefits too, and that's coming out of your paycheck too. So you're going to probably end up with way less at the end of the day and at the end of a shift. So let's continue listening.
And put everything where it has to go, and they're gonna have to just the everything that's gonna go and entail what a cashier does for $15 an hour. It kind of makes you think like, wow, that's a lot of work. And then at the end of that hour, like $15, of which of course is not actually $15, because when you consider the fact that part of it's got to go to the government's own reality, for an hour of work that they just did, like maybe $9, $8, $9 is what they're getting.
He's right on that, and he's close to the amount. Especially if you get benefits, he's totally completely right.
Like that's what this company is saying. Like, hey, what you're gonna do for me for an hour, it's a lot of work, and here's $8. You do that for 8 night, 8 hours in a day, $64 in a day. That's crazy. It is crazy. You know, things are getting expensive. Things are getting wild. Things are getting so crazy unaffordable. I mean, you're seeing videos about comparisons. You know, that somebody did a video where, you know, the scene in Home Alone where he goes shopping, they went and bought the exact same thing that he bought, and they compared it the prices. And naturally, you can't always get mad at that, right? As time moves forward, buying power and things get different, right? Like $100 now, you know, it's not the same as $100 in 1950. You know, and that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. That's okay. But like $15 an hour, that's wild, right? Like, how are we expecting people to be out there and to live their lives and be happy? And you're asking somebody to work for $15 an hour, of which, of course, as we just shown, is less after taxes. And I know what a lot of people will come onto this app and think there's a lot of negativity. So I know.
That is true. That is totally completely true. Everything has been more expensive, you know, like the cost of rent. Even for me, as the apartment total rent here, I live in a two bedroom apartment. I share the rent with somebody else because I cannot afford on my own to rent this place, not at $15 an hour. If I want to rent this place, a two bedroom apartment, specifically this apartment of my own, I need a job that at least pay me $21 an hour. And that is just enough to cover the rent. I'm not talking about the expenses you may have as a person, like for example, having a car or buying food, which has, as he explained, has increased in price. And it's true, you know, like the other day I went to Walmart and I purchased like a few items, and I didn't even got a lot of food. Honestly, I spent like $30, 30 freaking bucks. If you think how much it takes me to earn $30 when I work at my job, even a pair of pants, because my pants were supposed to be given by my employer, but they didn't fit me, so I returned to my employer. They have never purchased me any other new pair of pants. I had to go and purchase some at Walmart the other day because the pair of pants that I had, it broke, so I couldn't continue using that one. And I spent $25 for a pair of black pants, so that way I can have a pair of black pants because I have to wear that as part of my uniform. And I did calculations, and it's like, okay, I work at 14.50 an hour. So about $10, 2 hours, about 3 hours to be able to afford to purchase a pair of pants. I will have to work about 3 hours to afford purchasing a $25 pair of pants. Just think about that. It's awful. Honestly, he's right on what he's saying, and I agree with him totally 100%. He's right.
No, I already know how the comments are going to go. Well, that person should have studied harder, right? That person should have made better decisions that would have gotten them a career. Really? That's the answer. That's the road we're going to take to that.
Thank
Because
you.
you know what I find funny is that there are plenty of people out there with degrees. There are plenty of people out there with master's degrees who are finding trouble getting.
He is so right on that. I have a master's degree in environmental engineering, and one of the reasons that I have to work on retail is because I cannot find job in my field. And I've been applying to jobs in my field, but there are not many opportunities out there in the area where I live in my particular field of study. I have my master's in environmental engineering, and the bills don't stop, so you need to work on something just to earn some money to be able to pay bills. So working retail was never my career choice of preference at all. So it's why I'm just working this to be able to pay my bills. And but I have education, and it's just amazing how some customers go to a store and they think that you are just a they look down upon you. Customers sometimes they look down upon you. They think that you don't know shit. Um, they expect you to know everything when the reality of it, and this is me from knowing things, you are never going to know everything. You know, even as a such as you are never going to know everything. You know, you may need to ask, you may need to read things. You know, um, but that's the expectation that people expect you to know everything. You know, and it's ridiculous. And they look down upon you too. They think that you're there just to cater to whatever desires they want. Oh, do you have a different milk in the back? Why? What's the problem with that one? I want one that expires later on. You should go and check and get it. Like that attitude. I had one time a customer coming to me. I was working at Walmart as a digital shopper, and they asked me where they could find horseradish sauce. And I told them the aisle where they could find the horseradish sauce. And they said, I went there, I didn't saw it. I'm going to report you. And I'm like, okay. But I'm taking it back because someone said, "Why do you want to go and report me? I told you what it is. It's not my fault that there's no more. There might not be at this point horseradish sauce. Maybe we're out of stock. Like, what do you want me to do? And you want to report me? Like, it's just insane. And then the mental health, your mental health suffer when you work retail. Honestly, um, in any case, let's continue watching.
Work. There are companies out there that are claiming that they're hiring and they need a degree, but not responding to anybody's emails. They're
Mm-hmm.
not giving out any interviews. So really, maybe.
And in some states, they have passed laws to allow kids to work longer hours. So not only as a grown adult person, I'm competing with other workers around my age, but I'm also competing about college kids. And a lot of these college kids will do anything. They will not complain because they don't want to get fired. But that means that it makes it a little bit more difficult to request even getting a raise to 15 an hour or more. There are some states that pay less as minimum wage. So some states probably don't get paid $15 an hour. You get probably paid way less. And then you're competing with kids, so the employer try to justify, oh, this is an entry level job or something like that. But reality is like sometimes you have to work because you need money, and you need the money to survive in this capitalistic system. And you just had that only some employers that just want to pay the bare minimum, but they want you to do so much work. Anyway,
That's not the right path. And what if the person that wants to be a cashier for a company because that's the only thing that they can do doesn't have the
that's a good
same
point
level
too,
of
and I agree.
learning
Yeah,
ability as somebody that could go to school, right?
that's a
Maybe
very
somebody
interesting
that
take.
can only that knows how to be a cashier doesn't have the funds available to be able to pay for school.
I agree.
Or better
School is
yet, they just don't want
expensive.
to put themselves in an even deeper hole by getting into student debt and to dealing with that. So going to school isn't an option. So you mean to tell me that just because that person looks at their life and says, "Man, you know what? Like I can't do school. I'm not a school person. B, schooling is just going to be too expensive." That person is automatically below you because you chose to go get a degree. Like why are we fighting that fight amongst us, and why are we not talking about a resolution? How do we get to a point in our life where somebody who could be a cashier could still be a cashier because that's the only thing that they can do because they don't have the ability to go to school, but they can still have their needs met and at the very least
Yes,
afford a roof over their head.
I agree
Yeah,
on
maybe
that.
not be it might not be a lavish roof. It might not
Mm-hmm.
be a huge mansion. It might not be you might not even be the best of apartments, but they can afford it. Right? They can afford to live where they're living. They can afford to get themselves some groceries every single week, and they can afford to maybe 1 or 2 days out of the week do something outside of work
Yes,
and worry. They
preach
can
it,
go watch a
brother.
movie. They can go grab a couple drinks. They can go do some things like that. Like, why are we
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
talking about that? $15 an hour. 15.
Even having some money for vacations and things like that, it's very difficult when you get paid only like $15 an hour. Like even 17 an hour too. Like I remember 2022, my parents mentioned that they were going to go to Disney with my sister and my niece. Um, and my dad asked me if I want to visit Puerto Rico. He was willing to pay me the trip because he knew that I couldn't afford paying for that trip to go and visit them. And I haven't visited my parents at the time, about 8 years or so in Puerto Rico, and honestly, because I only earn enough to be able to afford living up here, and it's difficult for me to save money because I don't earn a lot of money to be able to even go and visit my parents in Puerto Rico, and again, some jobs they barely give you any benefits for paid time off or anything like that, so you can barely even afford going on vacation. So yeah, my dad helped me out, and then I went to Puerto Rico this past summer, and I wasn't working in retail. I was working for a manufacturing company, but even then, I still had to spend quite a good chunk of money to go and be able to afford to visit my parents. And it's rough to make it up here. And $15 an hour doesn't even cut it in here. And again, he's right. $15 an hour, you have to factor into consideration that after taxes, it's not going to be $15 an hour. It's going to be less. Let's continue watching and finish watching and see what he says.
$15 an hour doesn't won't pay half of people's rents
Yeah,
nowadays at full
Yeah, and that's assuming that you work full time because most of the cashier jobs are part time.
Things have got to change.
They
Sitting
do.
in front of this gas station and
They need to change. Things need to change. In all honesty, and again, it's not only working full time as a cashier because you get paid $15 an hour, but like I mentioned, some places they don't hire full time cashiers or they hire only a certain number of people full time. Therefore, also people have to work part time. Companies has say having to pay benefits that way, but part time, holy crap! I don't think anybody here in New York State could afford living working part time as a cashier. I don't think so. I don't think personally I cannot do that. I work two cashier jobs because only one job is not enough, so I have to work two jobs. And you would think, oh well, you're hustling, working two jobs. You know how bad it is that if I want to do something over the weekend, I probably can because I have to work also Saturdays and Sundays because as a cashier and a person that works in retail, you are required to work weekends. Your weekends are taken off. Like, oh yeah, there's a concert happening this weekend. I cannot go because I need to work. There's an event happening this weekend. I cannot go because I need to work this weekend. And it's you cannot plan your weekends. You barely get paid time off. And you barely get paid enough. Even $17 an hour, which is what I earn at Home Depot, it's not enough to live in New York State. It really isn't, honestly. And we think that that is a lot of money, but reality it's not. Not anymore. You go shopping, like you mentioned, grocery shopping, and it's a lot of money. It costs money. It's difficult. It's tough. And yet we're still arguing about raising the minimum wage at the federal level. And at least in New York State, they have increased the minimum wage to 50 an hour. I expect that some companies are going to increase the wages that they pay to their cashiers, but who knows? It's a possibility that they will not do anything. But the other says that the minimum wage is not $15 an hour, and so you have to wonder how people in those states can afford living. Because if here in New York State it's expensive, imagine living for less than that in other states. I know that my sister is struggling in Puerto Rico, and the cost of living in Puerto Rico has increased. And I think my sister gets paid less than me. And I work as a cashier in New York State, but my sister works in accounting as an accountant part time. And she does accounting and she gets paid less than $15 an hour. And to me, that is more way screwed up, in my opinion. It's it's depressing, and I've been talking with my sister and she's depressed and she's been working part-time because she has to help my nephew because my nephew has autism. I've been wanting to earn a job, been looking for a job in engineering, been looking for a job that I can do that will pay me more money than just $15 an hour because I also want to help my sister, because I want to try to help her financially, because my nephew needs help, because if my dad dies tomorrow there will be nobody there to help my sister or my nephew. And my sister is my family, my nephew is my family, and I want to try to help them. And I'm trying to do what I can. And that's why I'm frustrated because honestly, what I'm getting paid, it sucks. I can barely afford living here. I can barely afford my expenses, and yet I also cannot help my sister. And I want to help my sister, and especially my nephew because I want my nephew to go to college and finish a degree. He wants to finish a degree in game design and computer programming because he likes computer programming. So I want him to finish that degree. And I want to help him. And that's why I'm trying to look for a job that pays me more than minimum wage here in New York State because I want to be able to do that. Besides the other fact that my car at some point I will have to replace it, and to replace a car to be able to make it to work and to have more mobility here in New York State, I may need to purchase a new car at some point this year, and I can't do that at minimum wage because cars are freaking expensive too. So, and I know that I have education, and I know I can do way more than just a cashier job. I know that. I totally, completely know that because I have education, because I know how to use computers. I know how to solve problems. I know how to be creative. I know I have the skills to be able to do something more difficult than just standing in there in a place working with my hands and just earning minimum wage and dealing with customers that will look down upon you because I don't know, whatever reason they have to, honestly. And as much as I want to help people, because honestly, as an engineer, I help people. I help a lot of people, more people than I will be able to help on a retail job. Um, in engineering, help people. I will be able to work doing things that will have an impact on society as a whole. We know in California they're having problem with water. We know that microplastics are a problem. We know that global warming is a problem. There are a lot of things that I could be doing instead of having to work retail, and it hits me because I don't feel I cannot get into those jobs that will probably pay me more money long term, and to be able to help my sister, and to be able to have more money to pay my rent, to be able to have more money to afford traveling, because traveling to Puerto Rico costs money. If I want to travel to visit my parents, I have to pay for that. So what can I do? That's what I'm trying to figure out, and hopefully I can figure out something, honestly. But staying in retail, that's I don't think that's going to be my cup of tea, honestly, because I even think about like I remember working at Home Depot one time, and I went from cashier to sales associate. Not much of a difference. I sold some lawnmowers and I never got any commissions on those lawnmowers. I was getting paid an hourly wage and never saw anything extra. And I was able to help people buy something. Buy something $299 for a lawnmower. The store got a sale in there, but I never got anything out of that. And I think that's a frustration of me that I have from working in retail, because it's just like, you realize how much money you are giving the store with your labor, but then you get nothing. It's ridiculous. It's sad. It's depressing. And and again, like I said, my sister needs help, and I want to be able to help my sister, and be able to visit my sister more often, be able to spend time with my niece and my nephew. And if things continue getting more expensive and I cannot find a job that will pay me more money, I think at some point I may have to consider moving out of New York State. Been thinking about going back to Puerto Rico, but I'm not 100% sure of how can I make that happen. In any case, that's all I got for now. I hope you like this video. This guy, thank you for making this video. I don't know his name, but I found it on the account of Fell Capitalism in Facebook, and I really, really, really enjoy that video, and I agree with him 100% because it's true. It's really true. He brings some very good points, and I agree with him.